Welcome to the Penny Bloom Podcast. Ain't another place that has got more bombast. Romp past your mom, dad's listening to Tomcats. Talking everything that make you sad. We don't want that. We're here to make you smile. Put your mind at ease. Peace, love, and bloom, and always praise Keanu Reeves. This what we about. This some weeding now. We'll talk until we can't no more, and then we peacing out. Alright, let's go. Penny Bloom Podcast. It's the Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast. It's the Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome in to the Penny Bloom Podcast. Today, we continue our director's spotlight for Martin Scorsese in anticipation of Killers of the Flower Moon. Today is our 5th out of 6 movies in anticipation. We've got Shutter Island today, released on February 19th, 2010. It was written by 𝗬𝗏𝗀𝗏𝙀𝗀𝗏 and based on a novel by Dennis Lehane, and obviously directed by Martin Scorsese. I am Colton Robertson. I am joined by Joseph George. What's up, homie?
Oh, what up, what up? Always a pleasure to be here.
Oh, and it is always a pleasure to have you. Now, Shutter Island. This is a big one. This is a big stop. Because as of yet, so far on our little journey here, through Martin Scorsese's filmography in this little project, this is the first one that we have both watched and we have both loved. This movie appeared on both of our top 100 lists. So it's clearly very, very good. Very, very enjoyable. How many viewings was this for you? What are you on here?
I was trying to think about that. I think this is my 5th. I think. If I had to take a number, I'd say it's probably around 5. I'd say that's probably a good thing for a movie. Whenever you start to lose count, you know you've kind of passed that threshold. And it is something good. I was just trying to see where I did put it on my list. I put it at 44. Okay. So It beat the end game threshold midway, which I definitely agree with after this watch. I think could even rise a little bit more after this watch. I'm not entirely sure, but it's definitely still on there. That's for sure. It was on there to begin with. It was going to be on there to stay.
Mine was it appeared at 52 on mine, and I've got an interest. I really, really enjoy this movie, and it would still be in my top 100. This is one that I actually like less the second time I watched it.
Kind of the magic is taken away from it a little bit.
And not particularly. The filmmaking is phenomenal. I think that the direction, without Martin Scorsese directing, and you can have Mark Ruffalo, you can have Ben Kingsley, they are fantastic, obviously, in this movie. The performances are astounding. But if you don't have Leonardo DiCaprio, this movie falls apart.
That's true.
I think the story is super compelling. It's super compelling, especially on a first viewing, because even just the mystery is enough. Just the how did she escape from her cell? Someone's missing. Already you're kind of like, okay, cool. We've got this interesting detective noir sort of thing that Scorsese's doing, and he doesn't do a lot of that. It's a pretty unique Scorsese flick, so it's got a lot going for it. I don't want to make it sound like I'm like, oh, I don't like this movie. I still love this movie. But, it was interesting. I was kind of like, you know what? I liked it a lot more on my first viewing than I did my second viewing. And I do think that is partially because I knew where it was going, but there are still some new things, I still came away from it, especially the ending, man. Really the ending is the thing that can only get better. I think that throughout the movie, there's something that happens with these sort of massive twists. When you go back and watch Westworld season 1 now, or when you go and watch The Prestige and stuff like that, you can pick out stuff that's they're alluding to this, and there's some of that here. But they do an astounding job of making it seem like that is not at all where this movie is heading.
Oh, yeah.
And therein makes it a little less rewarding on rewatch, but that's not a complaint, because like I said, first watch was fucking outstanding. I love this movie, but it's just wanted to get that out of the way.
It's kind of like you're watching it after the first watch. You're always watching to be like, okay, like, how early is he smoking a cigarette? Let's see, like, how early is he taking in all of these, you know, the drugs and everything, and when can he start to go crazy, you know, whatever. Like, I don't know, you're starting to piece together Teddy's everything. But then everything that happens with the escaped patient and, like, to get him there in the first place, it's all just kind of, like, setting up the grander Teddy story. So, like, it really just kind of doesn't matter until the very end when they're like, yeah, no, we set all of this up for you, and it's all a show just for you. And
granted, I guess that, like, the value you place on rewatches of this movie could be changed depending on whether or not you believe that. You know, I do. I believe it wholeheartedly that Teddy came to this island after like, I think it would take away from the emotional payoff of the ending if he didn't. So, like, I buy it wholeheartedly that Teddy is not Teddy. He is, he's Andrew. But
Andrew latest, good old Andy. I think there's three paths that I've gone down on my watches. One, just believing in what the movie tells you. You know, when you get there and it's like, yep, his wife killed the kids, he killed the wife, he made up a story to not believe what he did and
avoid that
crazy.
trauma.
We're at the island. Other path that I wanted to believe was that this was some, like, deeper mystery
Truman Show sort of
with, you know, he's a marshal, he's looking too deeply into things that he shouldn't be looking into. Some Operation Paperclip sort of stuff. We're taking some Nazis after the war. We're doing a lot of Nazi science, stuff like that the people wouldn't want to know about. So they create this elaborate scheme to get him to think he's crazy, to lobotomize him, and then quiet him down. And then I'm like, as I'm watching, I'm like, okay, they don't do enough in the movie for that to be, like, fulfilling or satisfying. You know, like, there's not enough to where, like, that could be the answer. If they were gonna follow that route, I'd say, like, the in the cave, whenever he meets the escaped doctor this time,
Rachel
Salondo
2.
Exactly. I think, like, if they went down that path more and they were like, yeah, no, like, that, you know, like, if that wasn't just all in his head and him just feeding the dream even more, you know, or whatever, I think that could have been cool. Then the other path that I found this watch was like, wait a minute, you know, like, they say that he's done, like, unspeakable things. And then that warden that drives him in the car, you know, like, you're a violent man, could be talking about, like, his war past or whatever.
Right.
It seems that there's, like, this hatred towards him. Like, he did something really bad, you know. And honestly, killing your wife, yeah, bad. But after she kills your 3 kids and tells you that you want to dress them up on the table and stuff, like, you don't feel as bad for him killing his wife, you know. And, like,
even so, she basically tells him to fucking do it. You know, she's like,
I want to go home now.
Yeah,
like,
please let me go. You know,
So, like, did he do something way worse that we don't know of? And was he, like, if he's Andrew latest, then is he some firebug? Because he does explode the car. You know, he explodes.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Dr. Colley's car. He lights the matches whenever he's talking to Andrew latest, you know, every time. He's like, and in that scene in the cave, literally, like, it's one of my favorite, it might be my favorite scene. I have 2 that I'm choosing between. And it's literally, they're talking, like, and you see the fire that's in between them. You see the shot. You don't see, like, the base of the fire, but you just see the tops of the flames and, like, their faces. Like, it's 180, like, flips back and forth from Rachel's face to Teddy. I don't know what to call him. Do we just Teddy, Andrew?
I mean, it depends on what part of the story you're talking about. Like, I don't think, like, I'm not calling him Andrew until the end of the movie. You know, like, because it's something with this sort of dissociative identity thing. It's like, this movie treats it interestingly, and that's because it's like the 50s or 60s or whatever. But, like, Teddy exists. You know, it's just within him. So, like, they obviously treat it like Teddy's not real, but, like, it's very real to him. You know, like, it's a very real existence that has occurred for him. It's the delusion around Teddy that you can go like, oh, that's not real. You know, like, but Teddy himself is a very real person. So, like, the person he becomes in that time is, I think it's fair to say that he is Teddy. You know, I don't think we like, so I'll default to Teddy probably, mostly because that's just who he is throughout most of the movie.
It's just you hear it the most as well.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's just he's only Andrew at the very end whenever it is realized and everything. So I don't know. I think because it is interesting whenever he's in, I don't know if it was Auschwitz or I don't know, some concentration camp, but he's seeing a young girl there, and it is one of his daughters there, but it's not his wife there. Like, no. It's not, so maybe it's just, you know, you should have saved me sort of thing. Like, you know, you didn't get here fast enough. We died.
It's Rachel Solando he sees there, isn't it? Like, Rachel won.
It is.
Yeah, so he's imagining that it's Rachel and her daughter that he should have saved, and he doesn't know why he feels that way. But
I think that daughter's the same daughter. I think.
Oh yeah, the kids are never different. It's always his daughter, who is also Rachel, by the way. That was one of the things that this time around I was kind of like, well, okay. Rachel Solando happens to be an anagram for 𝗏𝗏𝘀𝗲𝘀𝗏, but also Rachel is the daughter's name also. So I was like, okay, like that stuff I was kind of like, that's a little contrived, I think, but it's fine. It's a very small complaint. A character name is hardly anything to be like, but yeah, no, I thought that was interesting.
I thought you were about to say, like, they are the same person. Like, I thought you were about to say, like, this mother and daughter are actually...
like it's an imagined version of her grown... Yeah, okay,
and I was like, wait a minute, what did I miss? I'm like, hold on.
No, I just think it's a... It was a choice the writers made that I think is just kind of dumb, in my opinion. Like, the daughter's name didn't need to be Rachel. I guess I get... Solano is kind of a goofy last names, you can kind of get away with that. So like rearranging 𝗏𝗏𝘀𝗀𝗏𝘀 name to spell Rachel because it's your daughter, I could see that. You know, like that's something that, like, the leap isn't super big. It's just something that I think is kind of goofy to be like Rachel Solando. Rachel's actually his daughter too, but it's also an anagram for 𝗏𝗏𝘀𝗀𝗏𝘀, and like all that stuff. I just thought it was a little goofy, but
yeah, I don't know. They could have just stuck with, like, the little Andrew latest anagram. It could have just been like, hey, this is your past name. This is the name you're going with now. You know, look at it. It's the exact. You know, I don't know.
The rule of four. Who is 67? Yeah,
that's pretty cool. Yeah, and like
I've always liked that. Yeah,
the rule of four, and then like he's like, what's the rule of four? And he's like, is that some psych term? What's up with that? Yeah. And like, you don't hear anything about the rule of four until you get into like that conference room with all the doctors. Like after the story, there's like, rule of four. I love that one. Or whatever. Like, it's just, and that's like, I don't know. I think that's all that's brought up to it, right? The rule, like, just
until the end.
Man, that's great. It is. I do like how they do just kind of sprinkle stuff like here and there. It definitely does work more on first watch. That is for sure. Well, you know,
and there are. I don't want to make it seem like there's nothing that improves on second watch. You know, like the first time you watch it, whenever they're sitting down with all the patients, and he's going, who is Andrew 𝗏𝗏𝘀𝗀𝘀? And they like freak the fuck out. It's not because they're in a fucking mental facility. It's because they know he is Andrew 𝗏𝗏𝘀𝗀𝘀, and they just got told they cannot acknowledge that he's Andrew 𝗏𝗏𝘀𝗀𝘀. You know, like them being like, you know, like they don't know what to fucking say. He wasn't supposed to start asking about Andrew 𝗏𝗏𝘀𝗀𝘀. You know, like that's Yeah,
and I noticed for the first time this watch, the lady that seems somewhat normal during those interviews. For one, she picks up a glass of water, just doesn't actually hold anything in her hand as she takes a sip. And I think that's like, the camera shows her pick up the glass, but then when it cuts and she's taking a sip, there's nothing in her hand at all. And I don't know if that's just like his fear of water or like what's up with that. But then she puts the cup down and it's there again. So like, I don't know what that's about. But Teddy brings up Dr. Sheen. He says like, do you know Dr. I don't know how it's brought up, but then she looks right over to, you know, Dr. Sheen right there, but his partner at the time. And she's like, oh fuck. Like, you know, he's saying Andrew 𝗏𝗏𝘀𝗀𝘀𝗏, he's saying Dr. You know, he's saying all these things that he shouldn't say. And like, I noticed that like the Dr. Sheen part, she looked right over to him for a split second and was like, I don't know what's going on. It's kind of, in order to put on such a show, the whole island, I feel like he had to do something a lot worse. Like, this dude is dangerous, Is it just his military background that makes him dangerous?
Like, it's the fact that if you are this delusional and you are this well trained, that's something that Ben Kingsley points out. His character, Dr. Cawley, points out. He's like, you are the most dangerous patient on the island. And I don't know if it's necessarily because of something he did do or if it's because of something he could do if he continues to go down this path. You know what I'm saying? Like,
is it for the things that he has done on the island that makes him the most dangerous one there, or is it his past?
I'm going stuff he did on the island. Because like he says, you took out guards, you took out other prisoners, like you did, or other patients, like you've done a whole lot of stuff, and we've been there to kind of make sure you don't go any further, but you've gotten loose a couple times, like you got away, and we don't know what you're going to do during that time. Like, that's, so like, I think it's more a what he could do rather than what he has done sort of thing, because I mean, like you saw with the wooden gun, he was more than willing to shoot and kill Dr. Cawley, that's something he was more than willing to do, and that's because he was in a deluded state.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like they're, maybe that, I'd say, the police show up to his house, they see his wife and 3 kids dead, they're probably like, well, I mean, they probably think that he did it all,
Right.
So, like, maybe there's something there, where he, I don't know, I'm trying to just think of.
No, yeah, I thought of that on the second watch. It's massively trusting of Dr. Cawley and Sheehan to believe him that he didn't kill his kids and just killed his wife.
I'm thinking it's like something worse, and this is like a good cover-up story. Like, this is something that he can actually like come to terms with, maybe. But like, I feel like this, because he says to Dr. Sheen, what's his name before Dr. Sheen? Chuck. That's right, Chuck. He tells Chuck, yeah, my wife died. She was killed by a fire guy, whatever, burnt down in the apartment. And then you see that dream he's having where she, like, turns into embers and dies.
Crumbles,
crumbles away. But then he killed, obviously he can't know that he kills her if he does kill her eventually. So he has to come up with something fake or whatever. Like, is there some truth to that fire bug or whatever,
And that's interesting. Because something that does get revealed later on is that she tried to burn down the house because she was trying to commit suicide.
That's right. Okay.
So because she killed their kids, he feels responsible for it because
he let it go.
He didn't get her help. He didn't, like all that.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. I guess it is. That does warrant. I don't know. Does that warrant? Yeah. I guess if he goes delusional and he doesn't believe in what happened, and like then he is. Was he a U.S. Marshal for real? Was he actually in the war?
I do believe that. I think that the memory he's seeing happened.
Yeah. I feel like you don't make up, firing squad, a bunch of Nazis, and then the main dude there, Commandant. I don't know if there was an official name for him. Took him an hour to die. Wow. I loved. Oh my god, that was awesome. That
great scene. Stepping on the gun and pushing it away, and
because didn't it start out as the conversation between Teddy, I think it was Dr. Cawley, and then the other German doctor that
Max
Teddy
von Sydow.
Yeah, Teddy hates that guy. He's like, oh, you're a Nazi straight up. I don't know, you giving off Nazi vibes, dude. I don't like it. They're playing the same music in that room that is playing in the concentration camp, and that's kind of what brings him back, and puts him there. And that I just that was my other scene. It was either the cave meeting with Rachel 2, the fire. I thought it was shot very well. Just in it, the mystery just went up like crazy from there. Like I remember on first watch, I'm like, oh dude, he's so getting set up here, like 100%. Like this dude's getting set up. Like I'm fully on Teddy's side. Like they have to be setting him up to shut him up. He's looking into too much.
Oh yeah, man, and that's what you want, and that's what makes the movie so heartbreaking. I mean, like this is Scorsese has a tendency to tell stories that aren't exactly happy. This one's utterly fucking hopeless. This is a sad fucking movie, man. And it's because you want so badly for him to be right. You don't want him to be delusional. You want him to be uncovering this big conspiracy where the Nazis are the bad guys here, and he didn't do anything, and he's just trying to figure it out. Man, it sucks. And I wanted to talk about that scene in the cave that you were talking about. I didn't catch that it's shot in that way, that it's like 180 degrees. It shows him, it shows her, it shows him. It doesn't
start that way, but when they start conversing and like she's really like letting them know, they sit down, start a fire, and then it's just like bang bang. You just see the flames. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, and that's like it's what he's seeing. They don't show them together because that would break the illusion, sort of thing. Like it's what he's feeling. It's what he's. So there's a lot of points in this movie where I'm still not exactly sure what's happening, because Chuck's his partner, and he goes out with him into the woods, and he goes and he does this to protect him. He wants to keep him safe. He's like, I don't need you getting out of hand and going off the rails or anything. But that part when Chuck's like, he eggs it on. At one point he's like,
found that we got the paper. We got
he also does the whole thing where he's like, there's an earlier point where he says something about how, you're a U.S. Marshal and you've been looking too deep into this. Do you think it's a coincidence that you just happened to get a missing persons case out here? He starts egging it on. So it's like, is Chuck actually there in that moment? Is that something that he's actually doing? What's the clinical basis for that?
Yeah.
Could be. Is that part of his delusion of Chuck,
Yeah. Huh, that is interesting. Or it could just be that it's like early enough in the movie to where because I wonder if Chuck is like, because he's definitely putting on an act, like him taking off the gun, like the holster, and being super uncomfortable with it, like just to show he's not a fucking, he's a doctor, like dude does not do that.
Yeah, so he's fiddling with the holster and he cannot get it. Yeah.
So like, is he really there every time, or are sometimes like a delusion?
He's not even there, and it would make sense. He's his primary psychiatrist, so he sees him all the time, and that's who he finds to be his closest confidant. It's who he tells everything to. So like, it would make sense for him to see him when he's not there. But it's another thing that I'm still murky on. What happened to him when he wasn't there? What did Sheehan do? Is it just that's the part where he's like, well, then you'll come to the lighthouse looking for me, and that's it?
Yeah, was that, I guess the goal was always to get him to the lighthouse so that he could have his breakthrough just there.
Yeah, the culmination of that delusion. Like that's the goal for 𝗏𝗏 and Sheehan. Like that's where they want him to reach.
So, I guess like the whole time it's like, Ward C can't get in there, and then they got in there, and it's just a bunch of fucked up prisoners. Nothing it's still fucked up, but nothing shady going on. So it's like there's only one more place it could be. The lighthouse. So it's always been the focus. So like maybe it was just to egg him on and get him focused on like this conspiracy and trying to get him to the lighthouse so that they could have this
so he could see just how untrue it was. Yeah, okay. I can fuck with that. Yeah, I was just like there are parts of it where I remember, obviously this is a very memorable twist. It's a and I only watched it a couple months back, so it's still relatively fresh on my brain for a second viewing. So there were just points where I was interested to see if there are any points where they lean too heavily into trying to put you off the scent, and they don't really, there's never really any of that. I think that there's a lot of nuance in a lot of the performances, like specifically Ben Kingsley. He's got this really off-putting nature that you don't You don't know if you can trust, and you don't know if that's because you're seeing it through Teddy's eyes. You don't know if that's because he's just not, this isn't what he does. He's just doing a giant fucking delusion, So like, there's all sorts of stuff there. And I thought that it's an exquisitely compelling movie. And it makes you think, man. It's very, very cool. I have a great time with it. But
man, I do have right now slotted in Ben Kingsley as Dr. Cawley as the character. But now, I was either going back and forth between him or Teddy. It's a whole character kind of piece on Teddy, and that's what the whole movie is. I don't know. I took a liking to Dr. Cawley. I don't know why this watch.
Oh no!
Like I was like just him being like, yeah, no, I have some crazy idea that if we just treat the patients like human and talk to them like normal,
and he means that, like that's
a good guy. Like
that's why I went with Sheehan.
Yeah,
for my character. That's why I went with Mark Ruffalo as Sheehan for my character, because they obviously care about Teddy immensely. Like they want him to be better because they want to do everything they can to prevent him from being lobotomized. They're like, this is not what we do. If we don't do this, it means that all our work is for naught, and so it's not just about protecting Teddy, it's about protecting everyone else. It's like all of our patients, this could set a terrible precedent if it comes to this, because it's like the board that wants it to happen. So it's a privately owned and ran facility, which, means it's for profit in some capacity, which is also fucked up. So like there's layers to it. If there's a board that's like, this guy's too dangerous.
There's always this pull back to make me want to jump back into the boat that he's being set up. It's like hearing these little details, and I'm like, oh, I don't know. Maybe this dude, I don't know. Maybe they are setting him up. They don't want to be found out. But at the same time, they do really seem like they do care for him, and they do want to help.
They do.
And I don't think that would be the case. They would just...
Well, and the acting, I have zero doubts that they're not setting him up, just because there's too much emotionality with that ending, with Sheehan looking over at Cawley and being like, no, like he's gone, this isn't going to happen for us. And then him getting up and being like, actually, I'm not gone. I'd just rather not be.
What was that? Like, that's what gets me every time, is that, like, he makes the full realization, and he knows. Like, it feels like it's clicked. Maybe he did click before, and maybe this is, he just goes in this loop. I don't know. And then he goes back, but then he says that line. Like, which would be worse, living as a monster or dying as a good man?
Well, and then he gets up and goes with the orderlies willingly. He knows exactly what's about to happen. That's my thing, is that like, it's not, this is another one of those sad ass moments in the movie. It's that he'd rather die a good man. He's like, I know what happened.
So he's saying, I'd rather stay in my head in this delusion
than know what happened.
And
I know what happened, and that's not changing. Like that's like now I know exact. There's a reason he created the delusion. He does not want to live with that. Yeah. So as soon as he's brought out of the delusion, and he's like, "Well, I created the delusion for a fucking reason." Like he's like, "So I'd rather you fucking lobotomize me." Like
calling himself a monster. I guess he would view himself as that. I guess I'm really not putting the wife murder up on the pedestal that it should be. Like, it is still bad.
I mean, like, it's a terrible crime of passion, but they do make it, they make it clear that he was
violent man, horror. Like, you did something terrible, Andrew, and you can't live with it. It's like, I don't know. I feel if there is anything more to the story, it's not necessarily they're setting him up. It's that, like, there might be some even worse past that Andrew has or something, like maybe he just came back from the war. Well, No. Wasn't Marshall. Seemed that he was, I don't know, maybe that could be fake, though. That scene that we see of him finding his wife all wet and the kids, maybe that's not exactly how it went down. I don't know. I assume so. That at least would be face value with what the movie is trying to say. But yeah, I guess it does make sense. Him just being a U.S. Marshal, neglecting her mental health completely, him being just gone all the time, alone with the kids.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think that the key note, I think that, like, more than anything, he views himself as a monster rather than them viewing him as a monster necessarily, because I think that I know that Kali and Sheehan have a desire to help everybody, and they make that clear. Like, if we can help people, that's the whole game here. But I don't think they would want to, like, they want to help him so fucking bad. And it's because I think that they believe the story they're telling him too, and whether that's, and I say that they believe it because I think it happened, but like, there's like a pity in them that I don't think you get if he did something truly fucking irredeemable. I
see. There would, maybe this is like the lightest murder they have at the whole island, because like all these other people murdered, like, I murdered my husband with an axe, that was just like straight up murder, or like, I don't know what the other crimes that they committed, but like it seemed that they were pretty bad, like there were some pretty bad people.
I could tell. She wanted it.
Oh, that.
She wanted me to pull out my penis.
Well, my thing. My thing. Or did he say penis? Or like,
I don't know. I couldn't remember. But like,
pull out my thingy and
make fun of it.
Like, what the heck? And she thought she was fooling me. No. Like, what the fuck? Are there actually people like that out there?
Yeah.
Like, are there real people that are out there? Like,
they need help, man. That's why they're here, You
gotta. She literally asked for a glass of water. I think that's what he said. She's like, she asked me for a glass of water. What was she thinking? He was like, what was she thinking, dude?
Right.
And I'm just like, and now I have this new fear of like, I'm gonna ask a stranger for something that I think is nonchalant, and they're gonna be like, oh, well, now this is grounds to kill you, and I'm pissed at you, and I don't know, like it's, I don't know. I have some. Scorsese's is just having some new fears unlock in my mind after a few of these movie watches. I think we did say this is a unique Scorsese movie. I'd say like After Hours still seems to me like Taxi Driver is pretty unique.
I'd say like After Hours is his most original work. I would say like you can't point to anything outside of the genre, like outside of like any other movie, and you can go, well, that's like After Hours. You can't point to anything within Scorsese's filmography and say it's exactly like Shutter Island. Like you could make the connections between Goodfellas and Casino and Irishman and all the mob movies, and even to a degree After Hours and Taxi Driver a little bit. But like, there's not another detective noir, massive twist ending sort of thing that ends Scorsese's filmography. This is kind of it. Now there are movies that exist like it, like Seven and stuff like that. But
I just hit me. The normal lady that he was interviewing, writing down "run," telling it like trying just to help him out. He's just trying, like she wrote down "run" on his little notepad, and then like he showed Sheen after. She was just, I guess, trying to be a homie and be like, hey, hey, dude, where's he gonna go though? The fuck is he gonna go on an island? They control the ferry. It's like. They got a good system going there. If you need to run shit. I mean, even if they are setting them up, and they did, this whole Ivor was supposed to set them up, how the fuck would anyone know?
I mean, like, no matter what, like, if they are setting them up, it's a sound plan. It's perfect. It's exquisite. Like they couldn't have gone better for them. And that's part of why I don't think it's a setup, is because like, if it was, it went way too perfectly, and Leo was playing directly into it, and like all that stuff. And again, I do think that just the emotions you feel at the end of the movie and just the rawness, like whenever we get that full, my favorite scene is the revelation, like the flashback to what happened. That's too raw to not be what happened.
Okay, that's fair.
Like it's they don't cut away. It's this scene, and that's all it is. Leo's performance. I mean,
you're right. Every other flashback was like a dream or like a complete. You obviously knew it wasn't reality. This was coming home from work.
Like, and every other one was like a flashback. It was like him experiencing the moment again. Whereas this, I don't think he's, it's just kind of him recalling it, not really living in it,
Yeah. But I mean, for him, it's basically him living through it for the first time again, because he's so, he didn't think it happened. He's like, to believe in it again is to kind of, he had to relive it, and he had to remember everything that happened. That's just, I mean, that.
I just think it's too.
To watch, that is.
My favorite line comes from that moment, because there's multiple times where when he it's all movie, it's been, why are you all wet, baby? And then he gets there and he goes, baby, why are you all wet? That's mine. It's when he flips it and it's like, baby, why are you all wet? Because that's like when he gets up the stairs and Ben Kingsley's like, why are you all wet, baby? And he's like, what the fuck did you just say? He's like, you know what I said. I love that shit. Yeah,
it's crazy how like we got nothing with these kids at all. We've only seen them pop up in dreams and weird little scary parts.
Enough, man.
Anything about just a dead child is just like, yep.
Especially this is gruesome.
A father,
this is bad.
Him just like jumping in, like him like slowly looking over her shoulder, and then like the slow realization of like what happened, and then he just runs, jumps in. Oh, dude,
like that shit. Michelle Williams is fucking fantastic. By the way, every scene she's in, she's awesome. Like the paranoid delusion of her being like, "You got to get out of this place, honey." Like that whole thing. She's awesome in every scene, but that particular scene. That's one of the best scenes in her entire career, dude. Like, I love Michelle Williams, and she is brilliant in this role. But, there's just really, really ominous imagery, man, of whenever she's just sitting there in that rocking chair and the ground under her is wet, and he's like, baby? And he's like looking around for the kids, can't find them, and
they're at school
like,
today.
The kids are at school. It's Saturday, baby. They're not at school. They're at my school.
Oh no! That doesn't sound good. Is that insect crawling around on your skull right now, honey?
I guess like I hadn't considered. I was like, it's very trusting of them to believe. There's probably forensics and an alibi he has for him not being there.
He was a U.S. Marshal.
Yeah, he was at work. They died during the hours he was at work, where he was, known to be at work. So like. Fair. That was a part of the thing that I was like, whoa, how? It's just forensics.
It is a shitty shot, but the overhead shot of all their bodies,
dude.
There and him laying her next to it.
Dude. Whenever he holds all of them and he's in the lake, dude, that one fucks me up too. There's a lot that like him swimming out there and throwing each of them over his shoulder. This is one of those scenes that reminds you, like, there are a few actors and a few directors, and I said this about Martin Scorsese when we started this project, where like we kind of take for granted just how good Martin Scorsese is. It's just like, well, Martin Scorsese's good, and we know he's gonna be good, so we don't really appreciate how good he is. This is the one with Leo that made me feel that way. I was like, where do you have to go mentally to get there? Whenever he shoots Michelle Williams and lays her on the ground and he's just fucking losing. Like, do you cut and he's just like tightens it up? Or like, how do you escape that place? Do you just keep, like, you got to keep riding that out, I think. Like, how do you do that? It blows my fucking mind.
Doesn't make sense. Yeah, this might be my favorite Leo performance. There is there's Titanic.
I couldn't blame you for that.
Titanic's good. I haven't seen.
I would say that he's a better actor in this movie, even though I like the movie Titanic more. It's
a way happier movie too. It's sad ending, with Jack and all, but I'm way happier.
Well, he has a much better time in Titanic. Yeah.
Oh my god. Yeah, that's. I'd rather watch Titanic. If I'm trying to have a good time than Shutter Island, that's for sure. Yeah. This is quite the Halloween-y vibe movie. I don't know if it'll slot in there, possibly, but I don't know.
I mean, you got this horror psychological thriller sort of angle. There are movies where I'll watch a lot of movies that have this sort of thrillery, vaguely scary vibe. Like there are parts that are freaky, the old woman when he shows up with the black eyes and wispy hair.
Slit throat as well. I'm good. It didn't come back to that ever. Just to freak him out, walking in the building.
And that's another thing. Is that person real? The thing to me is that she looks just like Rachel 1 in heavy makeup. She looks just like Emily Mortimer with a fake wig and a bunch of heavy makeup on and fake eyes. At least it did to me. And I looked through IMDb and I could not find a credit for this woman. So I was like,
yeah, what would they credit her? Reapy. That'd be a weird credit to make.
Scary lady.
But, okay. Yeah, I guess for that little shot, why not just use someone who's already on set, or whatever. So that could make sense. I forgot about her. Forgot about her until just now.
And it's just one of those things that's trying to ease you into the vibe you're about to intake, it's just setting the tone, really. Being like, yep, bad shit's about to happen,
The only thing that I don't have slotted in for my favorites is my shot. And it's nothing specifically stood out and I was like, oh my god. That's 100% it. It was just I noticed on this watch how almost every scene was just I don't know, just the way that he shot just conversations was even interesting. There was so many conversations that were so good. In the graveyard, whenever it's the storm's just coming down, and him and Chucker, they find that little, I don't know what you call that little sarcophagus. No, little building that holds a coffin. I don't know.
Tomb maybe.
Yeah, they're in that little tomb, and it's, I don't know. It's just a scene that they're just talking. They're just there talking, whatever. But I'm noticing man, this is actually why does this look good? It's dark as hell, and it's they're in this tomb. It's a horrible, they're a graveyard, but it's looking good. The little meeting Dr. Cawley for a cigar and seeing Nazi. I call him Nazi Doctor. I still don't know his name. I just kind of
Dr. '𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏.
𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, yeah. But I don't know that I love a good fireside chat. With a record playing in the background. That was just a very satisfying looking part of the movie. But I think, I don't know, my favorite shot scene was actually his conversation with Andrew Laeddis in quotations, right? Eric, or was it is it Laeddis? Yeah. Or the version no, it's after he attacks the one dude in Ward C, and then he goes and finds
George Noyce.
That's George Noyce. Okay, that makes, because I thought the dude he attacked on the balcony was George Noyce.
No, that's just some guy.
That makes so much more. So is George Noyce just an actual patient in Ward C, or I
believe so.
Because the whole thing with him is he was you're the reason I'm in here. He's if it weren't for you, I wouldn't be here. You got to get me out of here. You got to choose. You either got to choose to, bring this whole place down, or you got to. What was the choice he gave him? Was you either got to. I don't know. What was up with that guy?
Yeah, I mean, that's a scene you got to rewatch I think the reason he's in Ward C is because he wasn't going to go along with the thing they were doing.
Okay.
Watching his scene, he is very blunt about what's happening, but he's so deep in his delusion that he's projecting it onto the situation he thinks is happening.
I see. That makes sense. That's a good.
So he's like, "You did this to me. Like you did this to me." He's not talking about like strictly, it's your fault that I'm in here. You locked me up. Whatever. It's legitimately that you beat the shit out of me a couple weeks ago. This is why I look like this.
Did he?
Like, yeah, I think that's something that Ben Kingsley's character says at the end of the movie. He's like, George Noyce, yeah, like you attacked him on the yard a couple weeks ago. So that's another reason
because I thought that because he did attack a guy in Ward C. I thought that was the guy that they were. He was just choking him out or whatever. No,
yeah, it's implied that through the time he's been here before this delusion started, he also attacked George Noyce, which is another thing that kind of presents a violent history at the island and implies that he's extremely dangerous, And I mean, Noyce was fucked up. Like he got his ass good,
True. Yeah, he did not look good at all. Damn. Yeah, that dude. Okay, that's fair. Dude is.
He's highly trained, So like, if you go into even in a deluded state, you've got muscle memory, If you know how to do shit, you're gonna fucking do shit, Like that's
Damn. Yeah,
that's some dark shit. But
fucked. Oh man. Okay, that clears up George Noyce for me then. Because I don't know, all the little bits of me holding on. It's the lady in the cave. It's the George Noyce. It's the or Rachel too.
Yeah, no, it's all.
It's just a show, and it's okay.
Yeah, no, it sucks. It does suck. You don't want that to be the case, but it's definitely what's happening. And I found myself, the thing that I did not get the first time is that he is not deluded at the end of this movie. He is voluntarily going to get a lobotomy. He is 100%. That's what I'm doing, and that's okay with me. I'm fucking done. Like that's what he thinks that's fine with him. I did not get that the first time. And that actually, while it is a sad way to take the story, there is a perspective to it where it's like, at least he's taking control of his narrative, like he's been out of control. He's been completely, out of the loop as to what's happening in his own head. Now that he has complete control over his faculties and everything, he's like, at least I get to make this choice, like consciously. So there's a vaguely, you could put a positive spin on it. It's obviously extremely sad. I would rather, while I love that last line and I love that last scene and I think it's great. The happy ending guy in me would love if he just did the whole, like, Ben Kingsley's like, I need you to say it. And he says all of it. And he's like, so yeah, that's what happened. And it cuts to black and that's it. Like he's out of his delusion. We're good. That'd have been nice, but it wouldn't have been, it would not be a fitting way to wrap up this movie. I don't think. Like they narratively tied that together, I think, very, very nicely. So, I don't have any actual complaint.
In the movie. Let's see. Yeah. Maybe he breaks through. Because, like, would you want to see him... I mean, obviously, you'd want to see him healed and doing good and, like, not go get a lobotomy. But for the movie... The other thing is
that it's like the 50s and he murdered someone. So, like, him being, like, good now is, like, him still going to a full max penitentiary, just not on Shutter Island. Like, it's just...
That's fair. If he gets released from here, he's... Not
just going to it's a lesser facility, probably on the mainland, though. Like that's all.
Dang, that's true because this is only where they send the worst of the worst.
Yeah, like
really,
there's a breakthrough. It's still like, well, Congrats, buddy. You did kill
So
your
is
wife,
he
though,
just
so
the
we're gonna...
worst of the worst because he's delusional and dangerous, or
Yes.
the act that he committed?
I think it's because he's delusional and dangerous.
That makes sense. Yeah.
I think they're placing more on again, I do think it's more what he's capable of rather than what he has done. Because I mean, you can be trained and dangerous in a normal facility if you are sound of mind. You know, like it's like you have the wherewithal to go, I will not do that. You know, I have full control over what I'm doing, and I don't want my time here to be any worse. So I'm just, you know, like but when you literally go into a fugue state basically and think you are in some way superior,
That's true.
to the other prisoners, that's what he does the whole time. He's like these mental patients, you know, he's got a self-hatred thing going on hard where he's projecting onto everyone else.
And basically his delusion gives him like the okay to kill someone because he thinks he's like for an investigation. It's like if it's, you know,
he's a cop.
Yeah, it's like he could do it. So I okay, maybe he did. Maybe he was at a different institution before Shutter Island, and he just killed so many people. They're like, all right, fuck it. Like, holy shit, send him away. Like Alcatraz isn't even good enough for this dude. That was an island. He did.
No, that's fair. You know, like maybe before they realized he was full blown delusional and had a terrible mental illness, he wasn't sent to Shutter Island. You know,
dude
like
definitely went to some jail or something. You know, right?
Yeah.
Whenever, because I mean, I'm assuming the cops stroll up or he calls the cop. I don't know. Does he? Since he's a marshal,
I'm assuming so. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. That's what do you do? You know, put yourself in his shoes right then and there. You come home. Your kids are dead. You kill your wife. You're a U.S. Marshal.
Naturally.
Do you?
No, I mean, like, you don't. I think that what we're either betting on is that he was of sound enough mind to go ahead and just call and go, need y'all to come out here. Like, some terrible shit happened.
Eesh.
Just get out here.
Dude.
Or he's immediately delusional, calls and is like, my wife died in a house fire. You know, like.
Oh. Yeah.
They come, she's been shot, his kids are drowned, and they're like, okay, buddy, let's go ahead and scooch you on up to Shutter Island. How's about it? You know?
Okay. Then what's up with the, when he blows up the car, and he's kind of like letting go of, you know, his past. At least that's what it seems like he's doing. He's like,
yeah, he's like, I love this tie because you gave it to me. But it's an ugly fucking tie.
Tie. And then she blows up. His daughter also walks into the explosion. You know, is that...
Maybe it's a sign that he's ready to let go of his delusion. You know, like...
it's breaking a little bit. That, like,
you know, because he's been given... That's the first time he sees his wife with that little girl.
He is starting to, like... really start to trend, like, go kind of crazy too. Off. So I guess
because there's no reason for him to connect those two beyond the delusion breaking slightly. Like it's starting to fall apart.
Some people say reasons to believe that he might have done something worse is that he only remembers the memory after he sees the picture of his children. Or if they are his children, you know, that he sees these pictures and then he places them in this memory, you know, whatever. That's what some people think is that, like, it's not until he sees these pictures and that it's explained to him, whatever. But then their reasoning is that it's like he's done something far worse, so this is just a good cover up for whatever he did do. And I don't know. I think talking through it, I don't really buy that anymore.
No, I mean, like, I would like to think that, but again, I think that's just. I think it's avoiding what the movie gives you, you know?
You're
like
right about the emotion of that scene. Like, they wouldn't I mean...
There's something too personal.
Yeah.
There's something too personal about it. And even just the memory of it is obviously very, very intense and feels way too real to have been manufactured. But I don't know. I don't think that Ben Kingsley's Dr. Colley, his revolutionary, you know, breakthrough method was just gaslighting a patient into believing they did something less than what they did. You know, like it's just,
yeah.
I think he showed him what he did. He needed him to realize what he did do because he was also trying to satisfy the board. He needs him to say exactly what happened. It's not like the board is going to be like, well, now he's just created a different fucking delusion. You know, like that's not what happened either. So like,
that's true.
I think just logically it has to be what happened.
Yeah, that's fair. This is fair.
And then like the last straw in the whole, because you know it's not until the very end of the movie that you can even kind of answer the question of whether he's being set up or it's truly it's truly a method to try and get him to break through. But Ben Kingsley, he knows what he's going to say. He says things that he has not been present to hear him say throughout the course of the movie. You know, whenever he pulls up and he's like, "Why are you all wet, baby?" And Leo's like, "What are you talking about? What did you just say?" He's like, "You know what I said." You know, like he's like, "We've done this before. I know that's something you say. I know that that's a triggering sort." Like, there's just too much evidence pointing to the fact that Teddy's full blown lost it. I guess. See, there's a few things that like even Sheehan couldn't have reported back to him because Sheehan wasn't even present to hear some of it. You know, like that's why I'm like, I think there's just too much evidence pointing to this is authentically, you know, happening. The delusion is that it's a setup of some sort.
Damn.
You know, it's sad, but it makes for a better movie.
Because I mean, at the end, he looks down at the like ice pick. Like he takes a look at it and he's like, and then just keeps on walking. So it's like, yeah, dude knows exactly what's about to happen. Yeah. But it is that back and forth at the end there is really interesting. It is. I guess it's a more mysterious way to end the movie. You know, like I guess know he's about to be lobotomized. So like,
yeah, but they really do leave that mystery, like you know he looks at Chuck and he goes. Or Dr. Sheehan, and he goes, "So what's our move today?" And he goes, "I don't know. You tell me." He goes, "I think we got to get off this rock. They're not going to get us, partner." Which is also a little counterintuitive. What his anyway, you know, like I know there was a couple points where he's like, "We got to get out of here," but then his, you know, mind palace, his imaginary wife would always be like, "You have to stay. You know, Andrew Ladis is here. You've got to figure that out." So it's just interesting. I don't know, but yeah, ultimately, I think that I couldn't when I saw it the second time, I couldn't believe I didn't put that together the first time. That it was fully him voluntarily going with them.
His wife does say, like, when you find Andrew Ladis, you kill him dead, Teddy.
Still listening to his wife.
That's interesting there. He does find Andrew Ladis.
And he kills him dead.
Yeah, he does. Okay. Wow. Damn. No, those dreamscapes were really cool, though.
That was another, I like the migraine he has that's so bad that he goes and lays down. That's the one where I'm like, that shit's
might be
good.
A shot. There's a shot in there where I think they might just be hugging. But then in the background, you see the lake. I think it's the lake through the windows. But then you see like burning. It's not even like it's like leaves or something. Yeah. Like dark, just leaves falling. And then you're like, oh, this like it's just a dream. The way that they're talking,
he's like holding her as she starts to crumble and stuff. Like, yeah, man,
that was pretty cool.
It's gorgeous. Yeah, no, my favorite shot was something pretty simple that I'm a sucker for, and it's so detective noir, like 40s ass shit, you know, and it's whenever they're standing on the cliffside with John Carroll Lynch, the warden, the deputy warden, and Ruffalo's like lighting a cigar, and Leo's got like his notepad, and he's looking at John Carroll Lynch, and there's like this upward shot of them with the dark sky in the background, them standing on the ledge, and it's like it's a classic camera trick to show you that these are our heroes, you know, like these are the people who are the good guys of the movie. So it's kind of disarming the first time you see that as like, these are the good guys, you know, like we're looking at them in this heroic light, and it's because in his story, he's created a fiction where he's the hero, you know, like every angle of him at the beginning of the movie is like, it's strong, you know, it's powerful.
You reminded me of a good one. And I guess I'm most of my shots that I choose are wide shots that like you just choose as a freeze frame instead of like how the shot moves or how it was shot.
Right.
And there was a nice freeze frame. And it's whenever before Chuck leaves the like top of the mountain and like leaves his little cigarette butt there. Wait a minute. What the? I thought of a plot. Okay, this might be a plot hole. But the shot, regardless, was just them standing on top of the cliff and the lighthouse in the background. It's daytime.
Yeah.
It was just a real super high. I don't know, probably from a helicopter. I don't know where they took that shot from.
That's the sort of shit where I'm like, there are shots every once in a while where I'm like, this is fucking fantastic, and only possible if you have a fucking budget. You know, like a goddamn budget, you know, like this had $80 million behind it. And there's just, it's a shot at the beginning of the movie where I was like, that it's so simple. It's so like, it's just it's not even important necessarily. They're driving down the road in that little Humvee and there's this overhead shot where the camera's just like flying along with them, like above them. And I'm like, I don't even know exactly how you pull that off. Like, I don't know if that's a fucking drone or if that's like a crane that they are just stretching along. Like, it's just so simple. It's not important. It's an in-between sort of thing.
2010, probably a helicopter. Straight
up.
Yeah. I mean, I'm assuming this is a real island, you know? Like,
oh, yeah.
Well, I guess some of the stuff could be not on an island, but like,
there's a lot of stuff here that is definitely visual effects in. There are certain shots with Leo on the like embankment at the bottom of the island with like the active waters in the background, and he's on like the rocky surface that I'm like, it's shot extremely well, and because it's shot extremely well, you can get away with the visual effects not being great. But you can tell he's not in front of a body of water.
Yeah, no.
And so like there are moments like that.
He didn't climb
but that
down
could just be
actual cliffside, you know.
The safety, just because like they don't want him standing in front of active waters on sharp rocks. You know, you're Leonardo DiCaprio. We kind of need you around.
The plot hole that I just kind of thought of, maybe it's not a plot hole, I don't know, we'll talk through it. But the paper that Chuck has, it's like, hey, here's the fucking slip for patient number 67 or whatever.
Latest, yeah.
Here it is. Here's the proof. We got it. And then he's like, whatever. I need to go to the lighthouse. I need to figure it out. I need to figure this shit out. Goes down there, realizes he can't get there, walks back up. Chuck's gone. He thinks he jumped off because he sees the, pattern on the rock that looks like Chuck. But then as he's climbing down the cliff, he catches and he sees that paper that Chuck had. The slip for this patient number 67 or whatever. And then he had it. Well, I guess he just put it in his pocket, and he never really. I don't think it came up again, did it? Probably not.
Not until the end of the movie.
Did he bring it? But did he?
Dr. 𝗠𝗿𝘀𝗏. I can't remember how Dr. 𝗠𝗏𝘀𝗏 presents it. I don't know if it's pulling it out of his pocket or if it's. He goes, I have proof. It's patient 67. It's Andrew Laeddis. And he's like, oh, yes, the proof, which you conveniently never looked at. Like he does that whole thing. He's like, because he doesn't want to confront that. He doesn't want, because it describes what he did. It's the memory, and he's like, he does not want to look at it. Okay. So he doesn't ever look at it. Wow. And so, I think I can't remember exactly how that reached there, but I'm pretty sure you're right in that he put it in his pocket, never looked at it, and then I remember
in the cliff he put it in his pocket. I just didn't remember how it was brought back out.
I believe he's like, I have the proof. You're doing some fucked up shit here. You said there were 66 patients. I have proof that there's 67. And he's like, oh yes, the proof, which you never actually looked at, huh?
It's you. You are the proof. Actually, okay. That's fair. Fair enough. Okay. No plot holes there. necessarily.
No, it's pretty tight. Like, and that's something that anytime I had any doubts about this movie, where I was thinking about like, why'd they do that? Where are they going with this? Is there some sort of missing link there? I'm like, it's Scorsese, you know, not a lot of oversight.
This isn't a Nolan movie, you know.
Yeah.
This isn't Interstellar. This isn't Tenet. You know, we don't need to think that deeply into it. Although, the title is an anagram for truth and lies. So maybe this does go deeper. Oh, it's either truth and lies or truth/denials. I don't know. It's kind of cool. Another little anagram in there. Maybe they didn't even plan that one. You know, I don't know where the name Shutter Island comes. If this was like a legitimate like facility, you know. I wonder if there's like some history to the name Shutter Island, or if they did just make up a name, you know, for. It's a novel.
Oh yeah, it's based on a book.
Yeah, in 2003. Huh. Okay. And yeah, that was just called Shutter Island. So maybe that author just made it up. I don't know. Inspired by the hospital grounds on Long Island and the Boston Harbor. So yeah, it looks like just a fictional island here. But okay.
Yeah, I'm looking at the like goof section of the IMDb, and all of it is so fucking minimal. Like, none of it matters in the slightest. You know, like, it's like, well, at one point he says that there is, poison ivy and live oak over there. This part of the country doesn't actually grow poison ivy or live oak. You know, so like, it's small shit like that, where it's like, yeah, okay, well, that's pretty inconsequential.
Yeah, I don't really care about that. Throughout most of the story, it's cloudy and the rain gets heavier and heavier. The sun only comes out in the final scenes.
Mm-hmm.
That does make sense. Yeah, it is a huge storm the whole time.
It clears up right when the revelation is about to come about. You know, it's that was a pretty nice little indication there. Was
a real storm, or was this dude just going on a tear, just going around the island, just wrecking shit? You know, is that all the damage we saw? All the trees and all the
right? No, I tend to take it that this is a little bit of a this might be the only part of their little role play they set up that was not exactly according to plan. You know, they were like, "Fuck, a goddamn hurricane." Perfect. Yeah, like,
because they do actually talk about like, well, there's patients in Ward C. Let's lock them up. Who gives a fuck? And they're like, they're gonna drown if we do that. If it floods, like, I don't think that's a good idea. Yeah, good old. God damn it. Nazi doctor is the one that's like, nah, chain him up. Who gives a fuck? And then Colley's the one that's like, I don't know about that. That's still a little inhumane, if you ask me. And I guess it is in front of Teddy.
Mm-hmm.
So it is. So they do know he's there, I guess. So maybe it is some act they're doing. But that seemed pretty real. The storm, at least, you know.
Oh yeah. No, I think that it was just like it only helped further the delusion is that he got to be present for this discussion and stuff, and they just kind of, you know, went with it.
They really just let him walk around. Like, were they watching him kind of the whole time, you think? Or, like, they just kind of
I think that's why Dr. Sheehan's with him the whole fucking time. You know?
It's times where he's just on his own. Like, especially in Ward C, you know? Like, he beats up that dude and they're like, no, you go take a walk. And then Chuck goes with the dude to the infirmary or whatever. You know? Like,
I'm of the mind that that's because everybody that anywhere else he was going, everybody was locked up. So he didn't have access to anybody else.
I guess what's he going to do in Ward C?
And he was going to go find George Noyce, and it was going to further try to bring it to light what happened. So, like, it's just... You
think that was planned, the meeting with George Noyce? Like, they wanted him to meet him?
I could see... part of the thing with Dr. Sheehan's role in this is that while I think Cawley planned the overarching stuff, Sheehan knows Teddy or knows Andrew very personally and will know roughly at any given point what he will end up doing.
Mm-hmm.
So he being next to him the whole time kind of gets awarded this freedom to be like, I think you'll go do this. You take a walk.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's always got an idea of where he's going. And it helps with the delusion that because there's a point where he starts to not trust Chuck. It's very brief, but he's like, what if Chuck's in on it? You know, like what if I've never met him before? And George Noyce he's like, is it George Noyce who's like, have you ever seen him before? Have you ever worked with him before?
Rachel too in the cave.
Yeah.
Saying like, you know, the food you've eaten, your friend, my friend, you know, or whatever. Or maybe that's all that's said about Chuck, actually, I think it might have been George Noyce. Yeah. But Rachel, too, she says, he just asks as he's leaving, hey, I have a friend here. Have you seen him anywhere around? She goes, you have no friends here. And that's kind of it. They leave. So I think it might have been George Noyce there that was like putting a lot more suspicion onto Chuck, you know.
But then that's interesting. That changes the theory that he's there because that would mean that George Noyce is in on it the entire time. Because he would know who Dr. Sheehan is.
Maybe it's not brought up there at all. I don't know.
No, yeah, that's why I'm like, I can't remember specifically when that happens, but, and it's brief, you know, he very, very quickly decides he has a great deal of loyalty to Chuck, which is another thing that I really like about the character that we are presented with Teddy, is that even when he's presented with an opportunity to go, you know what, he's in on it. I do not trust him. He has unequivocal trust in Dr. Sheehan, which I think bleeds through because of the psychiatry and stuff, like the fact that he is his closest confidant. He's like, no, that man wouldn't do that, you know. And that's what's interesting is that while he is betraying him, this role play is to help him and stuff. But yeah, whenever he gets up there and he's like, I came here for you, you know, like I came here to save you. What are you doing to me? You know, he's like, hey man, I know. We had to do it though, man. You know, like I appreciate you, dog, and you've done a lot, but need help.
Yeah, I don't know. I just pulled up a little clip of George Noyce, and I just remember that's the soundtrack though in this. That like,
oh, dude, the fucking score.
Yeah. I don't know. I enjoy it. It just adds that bit of ominous and like just get your heart racing a little more, you know. I don't know. I love this one. That's the thing about Scorsese is that like usually everything cinema wise is firing at all cylinders. Like usually there's not really one thing that is done poorly. But I think this score was very nice. I wonder if they just have it on its own, like on YouTube.
No, yeah, it's a compilation. It seems of a great many different songs.
Oh yeah, it's just like a legitimate symphony. But I think they do have something that's like unique for the movie, though.
Oh, they have a few songs. They have a few songs in here that are just for the movie.
Yeah, that's not it. Yeah, no. I guess. What was the? Yeah, this is just symphonies and stuff like that. Oh, never mind. What I thought was the original soundtrack of the movie, it is just Symphony Number 3, 𝗬𝗂𝘁𝗲𝘀 from Allegro. Oh, is that the artist's name? Maybe Allegro Moderato. I don't know. But it's like this bum 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 bum. You know, just the slow, just like. I don't know, cello, seems like.
Yeah.
Man. Yeah, no, I I did like this theme or the score.
No, yeah, it's gorgeous, man. Yeah, the that was by 𝗏𝗏 𝗏𝗏𝘀𝗲𝘏.
There we go. 𝗏𝗏 𝗏𝗏𝘏𝘏. I like
𝗏𝗏.
I dig that.
Yeah, no, it was a gorgeous score, and I think it kind of, I mean, it underscores a lot of the most important moments in very impactful ways, you know.
And then the silence of like the because like I don't think there's like any music at all whenever he's like the memory, he's like going through that memory. I think it's just like straight raw, here's what happened, you know, no music whatsoever. I know, like it's always nice whenever a score can add to something, but also like the silence of nothing at all can do like even more sometimes. Like
right,
cut away. Like whenever maybe I feel like there was a moment where music was playing, and then there was this harsh, just
cut off.
No, cut to silence. I can't remember exactly what it was. Oh man, it feels like it's near the end. I guess maybe it's before he enters his dream, like enters that memory. It's like it's kind of intense, and they're like, "Don't you know? We've been through this before." Blah blah blah, and like, pointing the gun at him, shooting him, and I don't know, all that crazy stuff. Maybe there was music going on there, and then they cut away for it. I'm not sure, but yes, and the I like how when I put in Dr. 𝗏𝗏𝘏𝗏𝘀 as my character, was after he comes back, like I don't know, he was gone for a little bit. He comes back, and all the patients and people, they just had a meeting, and Dr. 𝗏𝗏𝘏𝘀's walking out. Yeah, we found Rachel. Everything's good. Don't you want to get on the ferry, go back home, whatever? You want a cigarette, whatever? He's like, no, I actually quit. And then he pulls out his pipe and just blows the fattest fucking smoke cloud in his face. And I wonder if that's like enough, is that the medicine as well in there, but he's like just fucking immune to it,
Right.
He's taken the antidote or something for this psychotic, or psychiatric medicine or something. Or was this dude just like, you put me through so much shit, I'm just gonna blow a fucking cloud in your face, dude. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Lights up his pipe. A pipe too, not even a cigarette. Dude just lights up his own pipe. And was just toking it right there. But no, I liked Dr. 𝗏𝗏𝘏𝗏𝘏. I think it might have been also just seeing Ben Kingsley off the like West Shorts, and then seeing him in here was really cool. So I was just kind of paying attention to him a little bit more.
Yeah, love Ben Kingsley. He's a fantastic actor, and he's got that foreboding sort of charm, but it's also, you're like, do I trust you sort of thing going on. He's got that down to a T, man. It's
give me him as old Professor X, I don't know why. I just see, like, that's the only, like, I see him as just a great, just,
I think he'd be hella good. He'd be very good in that role. I
see him as an Xavier for some reason.
I can see it. I see the vision. I see the vibe.
I think I will stick with him for character, though.
I think it's a good choice. I think those two are the choice. Like, I think Sheehan and 𝗏𝗏𝘏𝗏𝘏 are the exemplary characters in this movie. I think that, while it's about Teddy and Andrew, it's, he's the focus, but it's kind of this thing where we've talked about, I can't remember specifically what this is about, but everything's happening to him. He spends a lot of time reacting. He doesn't get to take a lot of charge. He doesn't get to do a lot. They are making it happen. They are pushing the story forward in a way that, affects our protagonist. And I think it makes them the most compelling characters in the movie. Maybe not the most compelling, but my favorite characters in the movie.
Love me a good mystery movie too. And this one, we were talking at first, on first watch. I think this one is a movie where the best watch that you will have will be the first watch, I think. And I think, I think I'm on 5 or so. And I think it is not that it's getting worse over time. It's just that, like, the effect that the movie has
Oh yeah, I mean, like, there's a great deal of this movie. Like, the importance of this movie is placed almost entirely on the twist. And if once you've seen the twist, you know, you're trying to put pieces together from what happened before that. And like I said earlier, this movie doesn't have a ton of that. It has a little bit of it where you can go like, oh, that's interesting. Oh, that's interesting. But it's never like, oh, I should have, oh, how did I not? You know, like, it's never like that. There's never anything so blatant that you're kind of like, wait, how did I not catch that? It's like, well, of course you didn't catch it. They did a very good job at veiling it. And that's, no, it's fine. I mean, like, the important watch of a movie, I think, is the first watch. And,
true. Yeah. I guess, it shouldn't hurt a movie that it can't be rewatched, I guess. But it can only help if it does. If a movie is rewatchable, I think that does, like, add to it.
Yeah, if it's not, I mean, like, and if it's not, if it's good and it's not rewatchable, it can't affect it. If it's bad and it's not rewatchable, like, if it's not rewatchable because it's bad, that's a different thing. You know, that's not what this is. Like, I just don't think that for a genre, or not a genre, but a trope that typically has kind of infinite rewatch value, where it's like, oh, putting the pieces together, trying to figure out how we got to this conclusion and stuff. This one has surprisingly little rewatch value. You know, but you know, I say that, but like,
I guess I have watched it 5 times. I guess
you know, I watched it a second time. I was more than willing to watch it a second time. But I will say, of the movies we've covered so far, I think, like, where I have this on my Scorsese ranking, and it was higher before this watch. I ended up bumping it down. I had it at 4 on my Scorsese ranking. It fell to 8. It's now behind, and I had an important rewatch in here that boosted up my list quite a bit. That is not a part of this, but yeah, now it's behind Casino, Taxi Driver, After Hours, and Gangs of New York.
Right now. So I think I made this list too. Maybe it was was it for Gangs of New York? Maybe. I don't know. I think maybe Casinos when I actually made it.
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
But I had Shutter Island at 3 for me. Wolf of Wall Street number 1, Gangs of New York number 2. I don't think this is number 3 any longer. I'm putting After Hours above it. I like After Hours a little bit more. I really took a liking to that. I have The Departed at 5.
That's another one I really need to rewatch. I think I'd like that one a lot more.
You know, I don't think I can actually put it below The Departed. Actually,
I still have it above The Departed personally,
but I do have it above Casino. I need to rewatch Goodfellas for the life of me. I really do. But I think I still put Casino even below The Departed for me. So I think it moved from 3 to 4, so not far, but in the same direction.
Yeah, I'm like, of the movies we've covered so far, the only one below it for me is The King of Comedy.
Yeah.
And that's at 9. It's Shutter Island's 8, King of Comedy's 9. And I've watched 15 Scorsese flicks, so they're, you know, I love, we talk about this every week. It's like, oh yeah, it's one of the best movies I've ever seen. 9.
Yeah. Man, what a great movie that was. Too bad it's the last movie on Martin Scorsese's freaking filmography. Like Taxi Driver, people love that movie. Some people say that's their favorite movie. I think that's kind of crazy to say it's your favorite movie of all time, but like, hey, that's
I will
the beauty
say,
of movies.
Between last week and this week, I did get a chance to rewatch it it was my second viewing of Taxi Driver as well. And I'm a very different viewer of movies than I was a year ago. So, it
would be interesting to rewatch.
That was probably 2 years ago and some change, because we got out ahead of this project, out of the 52-year journey through film.
We were like becoming good movie watchers, sort of like during.
Yeah, no, it's funny. Sometimes I'll go back and listen to our 52-year journey through film episodes. I'll listen to a certain episode and be like, "This is borders on unlistenable because I'm like, I completely disagree with what I'm saying. I'm like that's, I've rewatched that movie since and I'm like, that's just not the way I feel about that,
Taxi Driver came out February 11th, 2022.
Yeah. And I mean, like we did the 77 movie, Star Wars on Thanksgiving. So like, 2021.
Yeah.
So it's been 2 years since I watched Taxi Driver, and
that's crazy.
Yeah, it's and I liked it a lot. Like that would have made my top 100 had I rewatched it prior to that project. And frankly, now we're at a point where I had 3 Scorsese movies in my top 100. We are now at a place where I would have 8 Scorsese movies in my top 100 a few weeks later. And that's like we're 3 weeks removed from that project. It's not even that fucking long ago. That's
Let's see. I mean, as far as Scorsese goes, I'm pretty confident Wolf of Wall Street should have been in mine. I saw that before I made the top 100. I don't know why it wasn't in there. I'm kind of pissed about that one. Gangs of New York definitely makes it. I really like that movie. After Hours, 100% making it. Shutter Island already did. The Departed, I don't think did.
Yeah, it did. It did.
It did? Okay.
I believe it did.
That's good. King of Comedy? I do have a lot of kids' movies down there at the end, so I don't really feel bad about adding a new movie into mine.
Right. Yeah, you have 10 spots there where you can.
Yeah. So honestly, I think every movie we watched has slid its way in. Actually, to the top 100. So, yeah, he's Scorsese. I understand why he's held, or just it's gonna be good. The dude just does it.
Maybe I was tripping about you having The Departed. I can't seem to find it.
I didn't think I have. I didn't think I did.
Man, for some reason I could have swore. Regardless,
sounds like it should have been. I don't know. Yeah,
I'm like, here, let me. Yeah, I don't think it was. That's wild. I thought for sure you had it, but I must have just been tripping a bit. But yeah, all right. No, yeah, I feel pretty good about this movie. I have a great time watching it. And while I don't think I'll probably, that's what's interesting is that I have it one spot above King of Comedy, and the King of Comedy isn't so rewatchable for a different reason. It's just so fucking awkward. So, man, I don't want to see that a lot. I love watching it when I'm watching it, but I do not want to watch that a lot. There's a very visceral feeling with that. Shutter Island does have a little bit, it's fascinating the reasons different movies resonate in different ways.
I think I'll come back. Eventually. I'll come back to Shutter
Island. Oh yeah, no, that's the thing is that I have no doubt. I have 15 movies on my Scorsese. All of these will be every single Scorsese movie. You can watch twice at least. Sure. It's not gonna because I've only watched The Departed once, and that's one I desperately need to make it back to.
That cast is just stacked there. That's that's a crazy movie. Yeah, that's
The Departed.
The Departed. Everyone just fucking dies. Though that's the kind of thing that gets me is that well, I'm just gonna get to the end and Mark Wahlberg makes it out. Mark Wahlberg makes it out, but everyone else, literally, I think. Yeah, I think literally everyone else dies.
No, yeah, he's just got a fantastic filmography, and I've watched 15 of his feature films, but I think he has something like 26, which is
damn, that's nuts.
Yeah, 4, 8, 12, 16. Man, I haven't seen Silence. I haven't seen Cape Fear. I haven't seen Killers, of course. The Age of Innocence, The Last Temptation of Christ, Bringing Out the Dead, Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore, New York, New York, Kundun, Who's That Knocking at My Door? I think that's it. So 10. Including Killers of the Flower Moon that I have not seen. So 25 feature films. it's a pretty deep filmography, and I got to imagine that all of them have a certain degree of rewatch value. You know, Scorsese's just he's not missing. You know, if even on the ones that aren't Boxcar Bertha, that's another one, 26.
Damn.
Yeah, Alice Doesn't Live Here, or not Alice Doesn't Live Here anymore. Who's That Knocking at My Door and Boxcar Bertha were his first two feature films, and then Mean Streets was the one that kind of launched him into a like, oh, this guy's the shit sort of thing.
Man, he directed Michael Jackson's Bad music video. I remember watching the shit out of that.
It's great fucking music. He's done a ton of concert films, which I didn't realize. Like, he did the Woodstock movie, that like pretty much every documentary film mines from is Scorsese. Like,
wow, yeah, I hope he never stops. You know,
so.
We're getting it. It's kind of crazy. Killers is like, it's coming up.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, we are seeing that in less than a week.
Like, that's kind of nuts.
It's this Sunday.
That's crazy.
I'm so excited, man. I cannot fucking like. I had a palpable excitement for Asteroid City, and that's the only other thing I think I can point to and go like, I was that excited. I'm more excited for this than I was Asteroid City, if I'm being completely honest.
This one's looking nice.
There's just, it's crazy to look at Asteroid City with Tom Hanks and Scarlett Johansson and Bryan Cranston and this fantastic fucking cast, this massive Steve Carell, all these guys, and go like, there's an even better legendary cast in this new Scorsese movie, and that's just on the backs of Leo and De Niro. You know, like, that's fucking crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like, Lily Gladstone is getting a ton of praise for her performance, and I cannot wait to see it. But like, the selling point for this movie, and it's all you really need, is Scorsese, DiCaprio, De Niro.
Really, what I told my parents, like, they saw the commercial, and they're like, "Oh, De Niro, oh." Okay. Oh, they just kept going like, ooh.
Yeah, Jesse Plemons is in it too, so I'm excited about that one. I love Jesse Plemons. But yeah, I'm super excited for Killers of the Flower Moon.
Yes, seems to be a Scorsese regular. I guess he was maybe not regular, but becoming. Becoming a regular, maybe
for sure.
Yeah, has his people. Loves De Niro, that's for sure. He sure loves De Niro. And he gets
De Niro and DiCaprio. We got confirmation recently, yesterday, I think, that what Scorsese's next movie is going to be after Killers. It's going to be called The Wager, based on a novel by David Grann, and the lead is going to be played by Leonardo DiCaprio. So we've got another Scorsese and Leo collaboration at least.
And this is, I do remember hearing about this or looking into this book, The Wager, for some reason. Yeah,
I think it was rumored that this would be his next movie for a while. But yesterday it was news. It was like the next Leo movie is going to be The Wager, and the lead actor is going to be Leonardo DiCaprio. A tale of a shipwreck, mutiny, and murder.
Let's go. Yeah, I'm ready. Leo doesn't like the water. Well, he was on... This movie, Shutter Island, hates the water. Titanic hates the water.
This book?
Mm-hmm.
Scorsese decides fast. This book came out 6 months ago. This book came out in April of 2023.
Dude read this book or was told the story and was like, I have to make a movie on this story. Has to be good. Like, there's no way the story isn't good if Scorsese's like, I must make a... Dude is already... Wow, 6 months.
I mean, it's a nonfiction book. It's based on a real thing.
Ooh,
so
he loves real things.
He loves nonfiction. Yeah, the Wager mutiny took place in 1741. So a bit more history than 6 months ago. After the British warship HMS Wager was wrecked on a desolate island off the south coast of present-day Chile. 𝗎𝘋𝗲 was part of a naval squadron bound to attack Spanish interests in the Pacific. She lost contact with the squadron while rounding Cape Horn, ran aground during a storm, and wrecked on what would become known as 𝗎𝘋𝗲 Island. The main body of the crew mutinied against their captain, David Cheap, abandoned him and a group of loyal crew members on the island, and set off in a modified schooner via the Strait of Magellan to Portuguese-administered Rio de Janeiro. Most of the mutineers died or were abandoned on shore. It's going to be intense. It's going to be an intense one there, the wager. It's not at all what I thought it was going to be based off the title. I thought it was going to be like a betting movie, gambling, the wager.
That's what I thought.
So that sounds all the more interesting to me. I was like, is it like a Spirit sequel to Casino? Nope, not at all. Not even a little. Much to look forward to. But Shutter Island, do we have any last thoughts before we want to give this a rating?
I don't believe so. I think we have covered it all. I believe
we've done our due diligence, methinks.
So I think it is only time for that rating. Good old rating we do.
It's pretty good. It's a pretty strong movie. I have a good time with it, but it's definitely, like I said, it's not my favorite Scorsese movie we've covered so far. But it's also not my least favorite, so I think that finds itself between an 8 and an 8.75 enjoyment-wise. An 8.75 for me is its ceiling. I don't think I could go higher than that.
Yeah, that puts on the same level as After Hours and Casino. And honestly, I think I'm enjoying Casino a little bit. I just kind of sit back and just kind of, you're just visually stimulated. There's a lot more going on in Casino, even if there's not necessarily as strict of like a plot that this movie has. So I think it's like 8.5.
I think 8.5 is fair. I don't think I could go lower than 8.5, but I don't think I could go.
For me, it'd either be 8.5 or 8.75, but I feel like it's more fair to go 8.5.
Yeah, let's go 8.5.
Okay,
get a little bit more inventive there. And this one's interesting critically. Like it is extremely well shot. And extremely well performed, but with a lesser director and with lesser actors, and I know that you could say that about any good movie, but like a story should also be able to stand on its own, and this does to a degree, but I do think it's carried heavily by the performers.
Yeah, usually there's something that's being told in his movies, like Casino. Like there's not really much of a story, but it's like it just goes to show like what greed. And, like just usually there's something you can grasp.
A moral of some kind, And
I don't really know what the moral is from this one, like maybe just be a little more open with your mental health, maybe.
Yeah, right. No, and that's the thing is that story doesn't need that strictly.
It is nice to have.
It is nice to have. And this is it's a compelling story. I don't want to be like, oh, the story is nothing. No, like.
Yeah, it is a good mystery. It is a good mystery.
And a lesser film, it is the highlight of the movie, which is interesting. Like, the thing is that the director and the acting is so fucking strong that it washes out the story, I think. There are parts when I feel like the story is just, when a story is built on a twist ending, there's just a massive exposition dump at the end of the movie. It has to happen, and that's and that's fine. But it doesn't change the fact that it makes me feel like, God, this is so annoying. And like, and it's well directed, it's well acted, but still, if he comes in and he's like, no, I'm Dr. Sheehan, like that, the whole twisting, I'm like, okay, it just kind of makes me go, all right, it's fine. But it's like, okay, man, and I feel like a Debbie Downer when I say shit like that.
If he figured it out like on his own somehow, I don't know, like somehow
right. And that's the thing. They literally got to a point in the story where he couldn't. They had to force this on him. So it is purposeful within the story that they are doing this exposition dump because it is an exposition dump for Teddy. You know, like he needs to hear all this. But I think a very interesting comparison is The Prestige. Makes the most sense. You know, I think that this is like fascinating that this is a Scorsese movie. It feels like it would be more up Nolan's alley a little bit.
Yeah, we gave The Prestige a 9.
I think that had just a little bit more going on as far as, you know, set design is, and I don't want to say that this set is fucking gorgeous. Like this whole island thing they've got set up, awesome. The grim noir thing they've got going on rocks, but it's not a period piece. It is, but they don't have to do a lot of that, you know, like they don't have to be like, well, here's the streets of New York in 1950, whatever the fuck, you know, like it's a little different. Costume design is really strong in The Prestige.
Yeah,
there's a lot
if
going
given
for it there.
Prestige a 9 and also Gangs of New York a 9, I don't know if I'd give Shutter Island a 9. I feel like it's right below. I feel like it's like 8.75, maybe.
You're going 9. After Hours with it?
Because After Hours, it's kind of like the opposite of this movie. It's like there is no story whatsoever. I don't know. It's just kind of like, well, no, it's kind of, I don't know. I really don't know what After Hours is still.
Yeah,
I don't know how to explain that.
It just is. It exists.
I don't know how to explain it whatsoever. But yeah, I guess so that it would put it on that level. Is there any other 8.75?
Well, and then that's the other thing. Part of the reason we boosted After Hours to an 8.75 is because there is nothing you can point to and go, oh, that's like that. We immediately went, let's look at The Prestige. You know, like there is a little bit of and Scorsese's been on record and saying that this movie was a sort of like you know, it's a business. Sometimes you have to do a movie to get a movie made that you want to make. He wanted to make Wolf of Wall Street, and to make that happen, he had to make Shutter Island for the studio. So it's a one for them, and it's absolutely insane that a one for them used to be Shutter Island. You know, like it's fucking nuts that that's what a one for them used to be. Now it's like, well, go ahead and direct The Flash for me, and then later you can do Batman Brave and the Bold, which is fascinating. But
yeah, that is crazy that this was just for the studio. He's like, all right, whatever. I guess I'll make you guys a movie, so I can make a movie I want to make. Whatever. Yeah, that's, I don't know. It seems the movie he wants to make, well, After Hours doesn't really fit that. And King Kong, I don't know. Doesn't really fit. It feels like he likes the nonfiction vein a lot.
Yeah. It's he loves the real stories that happen to people, and
it's like capturing history and putting it down on film. So
well, because we were talking about After Hours a couple weeks ago, he made that because of the frustrations he had in the inability to get Last Temptation off the ground. Last Temptation of Christ was like canned by a studio, and then it was picked up by another. But through all that, he was like, I'm just going to fucking make this goddamn movie because I have to make a fucking movie, you know, like, and he made After Hours, which it's not a one for them. It's still something he wanted to do, but it's like, it's fascinating. That was kind of like I'm going to kill some time and make After Hours, you know, which is like, what a fucking talented gentleman this is.
Yeah, that Scorsese's insane. Yeah, I love the Marvel memes, you know. Did he even actually say that, like, Marvel isn't cinema, or is that, like, just made up?
No, it's complete, like, I mean, it's
hilarious.
People have taken everything from those comments and construed it in the most negative possible way. He actually had a quote recently that said, like, and this obviously didn't get any pub because it's counterintuitive to that entire fucking narrative, but he said something about how it's not impossible for those movies to be good. You know, he's like, those movies can be good when they have an artist behind them who really cares about what they're doing. But it's the fact that those movies are all that studios are investing in. Because that's like, you look at some of his filmography, you look at Gangs of New York, you look at this, you look at Wolf of Wall Street and Casino. Those were fucking investments. Those are not small budgets, you know. Those are pretty Those are pretty massive budgets, and movies like that you can't really point to anything coming out in theaters right now that feels that level besides Oppenheimer, Killers of the Flower Moon. Can you really point to anything else this year that feels that grand and like a studio was like, yes, we want you. I mean, Barbie to an extent, it's got that campy thing going on, so it's a little different, but it's still an IP movie. Yeah, it's still an IP movie that they're investing in the idea of rather than the movie itself. Whereas Oppenheimer and Killers of the Flower Moon are these historical drama epics that like it's.
I guess Napoleon coming out would be another.
Napoleon's coming, but two of those. Maybe. Killers and Napoleon are Apple TV. And what Apple TV is doing right now is like very obviously better than any streaming service because they are not pumping out they're pumping out a lot of stuff, but
good stuff though.
It's good. Yeah, it's consistently good.
Stuff. Yeah, even though TV seems to be really, I haven't seen it, but it seems they're doing pretty well.
They've got some good shit over there, man.
A lot of money.
It's certainly not like, like they're pumping out a bunch of series, where it's like, they've got a bunch that I couldn't even tell you off the top of my head, but do you know how many Netflix originals there are?
Oh, that's true. I don't even know.
Infinitely more. That's like,
yeah. You could probably count the number of Apple TV originals.
Yeah, on both my hands. Like maybe
luck counting Netflix originals. Yeah, I think there's no shot in doing that.
So like the points he's always making about that is just that like because these IP films are such a massive deal, people who want to make some other stuff with a budget are not going to get that budget because it's all going to them. The theatrical releases. When a Marvel movie comes to town, anything else is getting wiped out. Like it's just a guarantee when a Disney movie like.
Yeah, it's true. It is true. It's sad. Endgame really just changed. Infinity War maybe it just changed the game forever. Like, I don't know. Those two movies just changed in COVID. Maybe I don't know. Maybe it's like we're still a little early. Like I don't know. Like maybe give it another year. Well, strike and all. I don't know. Maybe give it like 2 years.
Yeah, like
2 years, and we'll be back in prime Hollywood fashion. But
that's the thing is you can't blame any movie theaters for wanting to show the movies that are going to make them money.
That's true.
So like it's the fact that these studios buy up that much theater space. They're like, we want you showing this and only this. It's a fucking event, It's just. But regardless, I think that Scorsese he's got a lot of good stuff, and he's got a lot of good stuff coming. So I'm so excited for Killers. But what's that bring Shutter Island to with an 8.5 and an 8.75?
An 8.67, which ties it exactly with The Prestige,
Look
the
at that
comparison movie we made. So I think that's the only 8.67 on the list, I believe. It's a little bit above Life Aquatic, above The Royal Tenenbaums.
Okay.
Barely above Life Aquatic, though.
8.2 on IMDb.
Is that a 9? No, that is 8, yeah. 8.2? Okay. That's pretty
very
good
for IMDb.
Wow.
Shutter Island, it's got a 69% critically. 77% audience score. So a little bit, a little bit lower than IMDb. But I feel pretty good about it. I'd say
you are. Only one more movie to go. Oh my God, we got one more movie to go, and then we're there.
It's almost done.
That's kind of nuts.
It is. Like the thing is that we did the 52-year journey through film, right? And 6 movies in the 52-year journey through film took 6 weeks.
Yeah,
we've been doing these projects where it's 2 a week, so 6 movies takes 3 weeks for this, and it feels like it's been such a massive investment. I've watched 6 fucking movies, but it's over so fucking quick, Like we're a couple weeks in the making, and it's that, But and then we kicked it off with Wes, who was 5 weeks because we did 10 movies, so it was just like there was a lot there, but regardless. Man, I'm so excited for Killers this Friday, and we'll be talking about that next Wednesday, our episode will be coming out on Killers of the Flower Moon. But in the meantime, we've got one Scorsese flick left in the anticipation for it, and that is his most recent prior to Killers, The Irishman. And I fucking love The Irishman. So be sure you're here on Friday for that. We continue our Game of Thrones rewatch next Monday with season 5, episode 9, the penultimate episode of a Game of Thrones season, which if you're a Thrones fan, you know are very important.
The Dance of Dragons. Let's go.
Dance of Dragons, baby. It's going to be a goodie. It's going to be a goodie. But, yeah. Then Killers next Friday, and then we're on to our Fincher spotlight thereafter.
Shit. Let's go.
We're only doing a couple for Fincher. Only got 2 on the docket right now. We're also going to return to our comic book movie journey through film. Ironically enough, next Friday in the same, week. Yep. Yeah. Killers of the Flower Moon, and then the first movie in the MCU on Friday after that. So, we've got, that's the thing, people. That's the thing. It doesn't have to be one or the other. You can like stuff. It's okay to like things. You can like anything. Doesn't matter.
I'm still a comic book nerd till the day I die.
Oh,
so.
Fuck yeah. And would I be lying if I said that watching these really, really good movies didn't affect my enjoyment of those things? Yes, I would. I would be lying. But, there are, every once in a while they come out and they kind of surprise you and you're like, oh yeah, this is why I like these things, and we got a few of those. And Iron Man, I think you could argue is one of those where it's like, yeah, this is why I like these things. So we got that coming next Friday. I'm pretty sure The Incredible Hulk the week after that, and then The Dark Knight the week after that. So, it's kind of an on again, off again thing with the comic book movies, as is the case. Iron Man, great, yeah, awesome. Incredible Hulk, oh, okay. Dark Knight, fuck yeah, and then Watchmen, oh, okay. It's a wonderful back and forth game that we're doing here.
And then X-Men Origins Wolverine,
and then it's like, and so it's just gonna keep. It's up and down and up and down and up and down for the comic book movies. So, but we'll steady with the quality on Wednesdays. We're never going to dip too much there. Cause Fincher, we're doing Club and Social Network, Fight Club and the Social Network in anticipation of The Killer. And then after that, we're doing Michael Mann in anticipation of Ferrari. We've got, Thief, Heat, and Collateral, all in anticipation of that. So stuff coming up, and I mean, like there are some fucking movies coming out soon, man. Like Poor Things. I'm so excited for that with Yorgos Lanthimos directing. Priscilla, Sofia Coppola. So there's just so many good movies coming out, and I'm super ready for this season. But yeah, with that, if you would, head to patreon.com/PennyBloomPod, where you'll find over 52 hours of content. I boosted the number by 2 hours there. Don't know why.
It's more than that, probably.
Yeah, it's probably like 75.
Yeah.
Maybe more. I don't know. Like I've been saying 50 hours of exclusive content for over a year. So, it's a lot. We're going to be doing a 5x5 Halloween edition coming up soon. On Halloween. But we're going to try and sort some things out on the Patreon. So you get a nice little glimpse into what we might be getting into there on our Patreon, a little behind the scenes stuff, Loki's going on right now. And if we're going to talk about Loki, it's going to be over there. But yeah, let's see. Head to Twitter, follow @PennyBloomPod, follow on Instagram @PennyBloomPodcast. Remember to stand in solidarity with SAG-AFTRA as their struggle against the studios continues, and it's looking not promising.
Yeah, we didn't
at the moment.
Direction. It didn't seem like.
No, it looks like things got worse, which is
not what we were hoping.
No, which is also fascinating to me. Like what? They went on strike several weeks after the writers, so they're just going through the same cycle of things. They're hoping that what didn't work with the writers will work with the actors. So hopefully here in about a month, we've got a deal. I would love that, but You can hold out hope, but just remember that the actors deserve everything they're asking for. Without them, the studios would have nothing. They'd have nothing. AI can't replicate that.
Yeah, and that like Disney.
It's like and I do not believe this in the slightest. It's like maybe you could get away with writing. Maybe even then it would be bad. You cannot get away with the acting for AI. We are nowhere near there. Okay. Yeah. So, and I'm not saying that's the reason the studios need to come to the deal. It's just that, like, I don't even understand what they could possibly be thinking and not giving them a deal. You know what I'm saying? It's like, what are you going to do if you don't have actors? What the fuck is wrong with you? So I'm hoping the solidarity.
There it is.
Solidarity will hold out. So Irishman this Friday. Nice little Irishman reference there for you. But a lot of union talk on this Friday for the Irishman. So stand in solidarity with SAG-AFTRA. But yeah, with that, I was Colton Robertson. I was joined by Joseph George. Thank you very much, homie.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Oh, and it's always a pleasure to have you. And remember, peace, love, and bloom. Why are you all wet, baby?